Good morning, everybody. So grateful that so many people have answered the call to join us in gathering to honor the 215 children that were in the mass grave at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. I want to begin this morning. I'm going to share a song. It was composed by the late Chief Frank Nelson. It was then handed to my father, Quin Kuligidzi Wakias, or Chief Robert Joseph. He has since handed this song to my eldest daughter, Quin Kulasugilok, Stephanie Thompson, and she holds it with such grace. I'm such a proud mom. I have 3 children, and so what's happening right now has really hit home for me. And I know all the mothers across Canada, this has really resonated deeply. If you think of your own children, how tragic this is. So I sing this song. It is, I am calling our first ancestor, my family's first ancestor, the great Thunderbird, to be with us on this journey and to help carry us through and carry us over. And in that call for my ancestor, I'm inviting all of your ancestors to join us, to be with us, to walk with us, to guide us, to ground us in this important work for those children, the survivors, and all of our children and our grandchildren and the generations that are coming behind us. We need to continue to do this work for them. And so this morning, I offer Kanya, Song of the Thunderbird. Oh, hi, hey, 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 oh, hi, oh, hi, oh, hi, hey, 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 oh, hi, oh, hey, hey, oh, oh, hi, hey, 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 oh, hi, oh, hi, oh, hi, hey, 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 oh, hi, oh, hey, hey, oh, oh, Kanya, imas kasoa, oh, Kanya, imas kasoa, hey, hey, oh, Kanya, imas kasoa, oh, Kanya, imas kasoa, hey, hey, oh, hi, hey, 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 oh, hi, oh, hi, oh, hi, hey, Oh, hiya, hey, 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 oh, hiya, hoa, hey, hey, oh. Oh, again, thank you everybody for joining us today and gathering today. I really believe that when we gather, all of our spirits are coming together and making us even stronger in this process of grief that we've been going through for these children and all the children, the survivors of residential school. I want to honor them by sharing a little bit in my own language. I'm not fluent, but I'm doing my best to learn. Gaelic Kesla, Nugodi, Hekwagila, Ogwalatinlacha, Hegums, Umpas, Quinquin Kuligedzi, Wakias. My traditional name is Hekwagila Ogwa. I come from the Kwakwala speaking people. We're located on the north tip of Vancouver Island along the west coast of British Columbia. My father is Quinquin Kuligedzi Wakias, Chief Robert Joseph. I am currently on, and Reconciliation Canada, our office is on, or in the Tk'emlups village, the Capilano village here in North Vancouver among the Squamish Nation. And I always want to hold my hands up to the Squamish Nation for being such graceful hosts. We've always felt loved, we've always felt welcome, we've always felt like we belong. And I think that's really the intention we like and want to share and invite everybody to be in, as well as to be those gracious hosts for each other, so that we know that we belong in this land. Wherever you are, acknowledge those hosts and know that we all belong. We are all one. Namayut. I'll bringing Chief Robert Joseph on my screen.
I guess my tech not savvy is on full display, so I ended up on this screen. Wallace Tk'emlups. My heart feels so good. That all of you have come together with us to remember those precious little ones that were loved so much. This is our fourth day now, and it has been the right thing to do. We've scrambled and worked hard, finding everything and anything that could make meaning of this moment, so that we, those of us who are here left behind, can respond in ways that are healthy and honoring and respectful of those beautiful little souls, 215 of them, who have gone on before us. I've been, since the moment I heard about that discovery of that mass grave in Kamloops, I've been thinking about those little ones every day. Even when there were moments or hours I was trying to concentrate on other things, I think about those little ones. And it came to me yesterday that they're making a big contribution to us, to all of us, to Canadians, to all our families in our Indigenous villages, by bringing the issue of colonization and all of the things attached to that back into our consciousness, by bringing back the remembrance of the inhumane ways that little children were treated. And we struggle in this moment to understand that. But from where those little children are now, who are free, they're allowing us the opportunity to reflect and to have this discussion again about us, all of us, who now live in this divine place we call our homelands. So I want to thank all of you on a panel, previous panels, the days before, all who have tuned in to the Zoom and Facebook, the thousands and thousands of you. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy lives to honor the memory of these little children and to wonder about how we can get through all this. And so we've been in the last 4 days conjuring up the ways in which we mourn and grieve and show our love to our precious ones that go before us. That's where our strength is in this moment. So it's okay to cry, to grieve, to be angry, to feel lost, to be confused. It's okay. It's all part of it. But our duty beyond this process and this moment is to find a way to give meaning to the sacrifice and the harsh experience that those little children went through, and to honor their reminding us that we have work to do, not just Indigenous people, but this entire country. So we need to be still, we need to be quiet, we need to be reflective. We need to work through our anger and our grief and all of the emotions that flood us. And in the days to come, in the weeks to come, and months and years to come, we will be better able to respond to all of the necessary things that we need to respond to. They won't happen instantly. And so that's why I treasure all of you and thank you so much for being a part of this. I just want to say a prayer in Kwakwala. When I was a little boy and I used to stand on the gravesides of people who were lost in our homes, hometowns, home villages, I used to hear different speakers, great chiefs, stand by the graveside, and they would say things like this. Ahagya, Hagya, Wala Malsilala, O Mahiusla. Go now, go now. Do not look back. Lama achuzni chazloos. For you have agreed to leave, to go. Hagya dudachodwida wiumpe. Go now and meet the ancestors. Lama achus husidas. For you have earned your rest. Creator God, we thank you for this beautiful day and all of these people here in this sacred circle. Help us to grapple with those things that hurt us all. Help us to grapple with our sense of grief and loss. Help us to grapple with our anger. Help us to reach out to each other, to lift each other up, to support each other. Help us to create understanding between all the cultures so that we can truly move forward in the aftermath of one of the greatest tragedies in this country. Creator God, guide our deliberations for the rest of this day and into the future. All my relations. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley and Chief Joseph. And thank you to everybody who's joined us today. Your support and your gathering with us today means so much to each of us here, and of course to one another. We're really fortunate here at Reconciliation Canada that over the course of our work within the communities across this country, we've met some amazing people. And we've shared some values about what does reconciliation mean to us. And for us, reconciliation really is about coming together. It's, I always say it's not a kumbaya state where we all agree on everything and we all believe in the same things. Far from that. It's an opportunity for us to take our unique strengths, our unique gifts, even within our own nations, and weave them together so that we can create something better than we ever could alone. And so you're being here today, the people on the panel and the people who are here holding us up with your presence, you're doing something significant today. And I'm ever so grateful for that. So I'm going to give you a little bit of reflection on what's happened over the last 4 days. When the news first came out about these children, the impact actually didn't hit me in the same way that it might have, except for when my father did an interview on CBC and I heard his voice. And I have never, in all the years that we've been doing this work, and this is hard work, heard his voice with that much pain and sorrow and tear in it. And I thought to myself, if my father is feeling this way, and he has the fortitude that he has, because he is an amazingly strong person, what are the rest of our survivors feeling right now? And so it was almost the end of the day, I think, and our team was online and we said, we have to do something. We can't do nothing. We have to do something. And so we talked about the kind of grief and sorrow that was going to be passing through this country and around the world. And we said, the only thing we know how to do is to guide people through our, what we might call our death rituals, our acknowledgement of death. And so day one for us was the day the children were found. And the day after that was when, how you would do it. The day two is when you tell everybody, you tell the family. It's, oh my God, what happened? And that was our day one for you. And on the third day is usually the day of prayers before we actually return the body to its mother. And so that was the day that we shared on here, all of the prayers from all of the nations that we could gather in that day so that we could provide some solace in this time of grief. And then day four in that cycle was yesterday, where we do the actual returning of the bodies back to the earth, back to Mother Earth. And so yesterday we really shared a lot of messages around death, around grief and loss, and how you're managing that and how we're keeping safe. And today we've invited the people together, because this is the day of travel. This is the day of going home usually. And it's when you're going home in those quiet moments that you're being very reflective about what just happened. The grief has kind of given away a little bit, and the shock, and you're able to have some kind of sensibility again. And we wanted to bring those people together from all the nations so that they could share their wisdom and their experiences and their thoughts, because although all of those children were from the residential schools, the loss has impacted all of us across this country. And what my father was sharing earlier struck me like it just came and hit me so hard when he talked about it. That those children paid a dear price to provide us another opportunity to determine who we want to be as a people and how we want to show up together as a country from here. And when he talks about go now, you've earned your rest. That means your work here is done. Go, it's going to be okay. We will take care of this now. And that's our responsibility now, is to make sure that those dreams of those children of being able to be whatever, to find their gift, whatever it is, and to be in that way, and to find some sense of security in all the ways that we find security, and to find some way to have joy in their life. That's what we're asking for all of our children, not just Indigenous children. Namwayuk means we are all one. I want every one of our kids to walk down the street with dignity. I want every one of our kids to know that they're special. I want every one of our kids to know that they light up the room. They're our reason for living. They're the air that gives us life. And we have to create an environment where we feel like that. And we have to create families where we respect that. And we have to grow our communities in a way that enhances those values. And each of us has different stories. Each of us are going to do it in a different way, and there's nothing wrong with it. I always say this when I'm speaking, you know, each of us has a right way and a wrong way to put the toilet paper on the roll, right? And you know, but when push comes to shove, it doesn't really matter which way you do it. What matters is that it gets done. And so that's our responsibility, is to make sure that we recognize we are responsible now. This is the beginning of what is going to be a long road for us. And it's going to take fortitude, and it's going to take commitment, and it's going to take us holding on to one another, because each of us are going to go through our cycles of being able to stand up, and we're going to fall. And somebody else is going to stand up there for us until we can stand back up again. And it's going to go like that. And we're going to need one another. That's how you get through this. And so today we're really wanting to know about, how are we going to do that? What's next? How are we going to honor this opportunity that those children paid so dearly for? And the survivors that are still here. They provided us an opportunity that cost them everything. And now they're in that same boat, and there's more. And we cannot stand down this time. We must have some tangible results as we move forward. So with that, I want to introduce you to, I always, just so you know, Cheryl and I are really, really good friends, like really good friends. And I want to introduce you to the youngest of our sisters here today. And I'm so grateful, Cheryl, that you're here with us. And I'm so grateful that you're finally in the position that you should be in. And I look forward to seeing the sky and the limits that you go to as you achieve your optimum potential, because I know we're just scratching the surface of that as well. So thank you for being here, Cheryl.
Thank you, Sister Karen, Sister Shelley, for inviting me here today. Thank you for honoring me with this opportunity to speak and to share from my heart. Like Karen said, we've known each other for a long time and walked many different paths together and crossed paths together and done healing together and walked a journey where we were able to watch each other heal and grow. So I thank you for that, sharing a journey together. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Cheryl Robinson, and I am Statliam and I'm Nisga'a, and I'm proud to be. I'm proud to represent my nations. I come to you from the traditional unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh people. I'm the CEO of the Urban Native Youth Association, and I've worked within the Indigenous community and within the East Vancouver community for the past 26 years. I was fortunate enough to find my purpose and passion in life at a really young age and decided to take that journey and take that walk and continue to serve and to help people grow and to help people challenge themselves and walk in a way that helps them also achieve their own potential and find their happiness and find their joy. I've had the pleasure of working with youth for the past 26 years, and they've taught me as much as I hope that I've taught them, if not more. They've taught me every situation that I've come upon, and every opportunity for growth has given me as well some gifts and knowledge in return. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about my story, because I truly believe that in our stories and in our history and in our vulnerabilities, there's healing, there's growth, there's knowledge, there's the ability to help others by just sharing your own story. So I am the first generation out of my immediate family that has not attended residential school. My mother, my late mother, Regina Terry, attended the Kamloops Indian Residential School. My father, Herman Martin, was sent away to a boarding home. So I'm the first generation out of my family that had parents in my home and raised me. It took me a long time to understand what that meant in terms of what the residential school and the boarding homes took away from my parents and quite often took away from me in terms of teaching, allowing my parents to feel their parental love, allowing my parents to be loved by their own family, their own mom and dad. So with that, I had to do a lot of healing on my own, and I had to walk that path, and I had to face those things and challenge myself to do the healing, because I didn't want to end up sick. I didn't want the sickness to manifest in my body, because I've seen so many people, so many of our people struggling, so many of our people suffering with illness, that I really wanted to challenge myself to do the healing and do the healing work. So I spent many years doing personal growth and personal development and challenging those beliefs of being a little kid that went to a school in the urban city and was the only Indigenous person in the school. I grew up in Vancouver and Burnaby, so I grew up in Metro Vancouver, and just being able to be that one person in that community, be that one person in that elementary school and high school that was the only Indigenous person. There's a lot of things that I faced in terms of racism, in terms of discrimination, in terms of the path that I walked and what people thought of me just because I was Indigenous. So I wanted to do the work, and I wanted people to feel like they belonged, and I wanted people to feel like that they were important, that they were loved, they were cherished, they were valued. I wanted myself to feel like that. I didn't want to believe those things that the system tries to say we are. So I spent many years doing that, and I think every opportunity that I had to grow and every opportunity where I had to give back, I chose to help people, because that in turn helped me, and that in turn helped me do more healing. And I think where we go from here in terms of what do we do next? How do we, this situation has that has arisen with these 215 souls that were taken too soon, and I'm a truly reflective person that wants to make value of this situation, even though it's a really incredibly horrific situation. But the value is that it's opening dialogue for us, and that it's opening up opportunities for us to speak to not even just the rest of Canada, but to our own people, because this has been such a taboo subject forever. My parents didn't speak of it. My grandparents didn't speak of it. And I truly believe that within our stories and within our healing, we share our stories so that we can heal. We share our strengths so that we can heal. And I think that what I've seen over the past how many years working in this community is our youth, our children, our families, they want opportunities to heal. They want opportunities to reclaim their language. They want opportunities to reclaim their culture, explore their culture. Speaking from my own experience, growing up in the city, not having direct access to my culture, not having direct access to my language, all growing up, I didn't know where I belonged. I didn't know where I fit in. So we're given this opportunity now to come together stronger, to offer those opportunities to our children, offer those opportunities to our families, to heal, to explore their culture, to be proud of who they are, to continue that journey so that we can have a lot of those things back that we had prior to contact, prior to living in communities. So yeah, with all this healing definitely comes, a rediscovery of oneself and a rediscovery of where your own inner strengths are. And that's what I've noticed over the past, very in the forefront over the past few days, just being super reflective of why this has happened and what we can do to make this an opportunity for us to come together, to teach each other, to educate each other, to help this message become, maybe it's not a message, but help this tragedy become something where it's an opportunity to learn for our people as well as the rest of Canada and the rest of the world. Because this comes, with this education comes understanding, and we need that understanding to be able to continue to provide those opportunities for our people to continue to move past those hurts and pains. So yeah, that's a little bit of my story. I think that we truly are going to be able to open up dialogue. I've noticed it within my own family that even just being able to talk about it again, even lessening those hurts and pains by acknowledging the hurts and pains. Walking with our children and answering our children's questions, reminding our children how strong we are and where we come from, and not to forget where we come from. Reminding our children that we're not of that oppression. We're not those people that were oppressed. We're warriors, we're fighters, we're strength within us. We're the ones that survived. And that we take that knowledge and we take that and we move forward with it. So I look forward to continuing to serve the community. I look forward to being able to provide more opportunities within the community for healing and growth. And not just with our children, but our youth, our adults, our elders. It's needed, it's truly needed. And this has opened the door for that, and it's opened it wide. We here at Anya, we put up 215 small cutout red orange shirts at the front of the building. And so much dialogue happened, people honking as they were driving by, people walking by asking questions. So it really felt good to be able to talk to people and people wanting to just share. So I think that that's really what this has brought forward for me. So thank you again for letting me share and letting me speak from my heart. And I look forward to all the work ahead, all my relations.
Thank you, Cheryl. Oh, there's so much. There's so much when we share our stories. There's so much wisdom and there's so much strength. And I really appreciate you sharing about our children today, because of that legacy, that history that we all live in. So many of our young kids don't even know why our families are the way they are. This is not of our own making. We are here left to put together the damages from someone else. And the thing that you spoke about us still being here is so resonant. You know, we think of ourselves as survivors of things, but the reality is, you know, that warriorship is true. And I always call our superpower is gathering in love and wisdom. It's our storytelling. It's why coming together. It's why people feel the power of this so much. Because we know in the midst of all of the losses that we've experienced and all of the deaths that our children know from the time they are just little, that the way to heal is through sharing, through being together, and through coming into places like this. And I also really appreciated what you talked about, reciprocity. When we do gather in these kinds of ways, it's not just us sharing knowledge. People are sharing their stories with us, their own resilience, their own wisdom, their own knowledge, their historical context of where they come from. That's why it's so important. So thank you. I can't wait to engage on this journey more with you. With that, I'd like to invite another one of our sisters here, whose paths I have crossed so many times over the last few years. She's not one to be upfront, except for perhaps reluctantly, but she is always, always one to be there when you call on her. She is always one to share her stories, to share her knowledge, to share her connections, to share as much as she can, whenever she can. And for me, that is the greatest reflection of Namliut that there is. We are all one. So I'd like to welcome you all and introduce you to Andrea Nempton.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Shelley, for your song. And Bobby Joe for your prayers. Cheryl for your story. and Karen, for all of you for inviting me in today. It's such an honor. And I'm humbled by it. Yeah. Mandarin Empton, I'm the great granddaughter of 4 settlers from 4 different countries and regions, some fleeing persecution, who came here and were treated with kindness. And so, as I have been by the holders of this land, for that I am so grateful. And I'm grateful to be speaking to you here from, I'm living in Toronto on the unceded territories of the Haudenosaunee and the Ojibwe people, here on Wendat, Seneca, and Mississaugas of the Nunavut First Nations, and many other nations. I need to share my sadness with the children and their families, their communities, and like all of you, the survivors and intergenerational survivors of the residential school system and the other atrocities that have occurred since contact. I was saddened, but not surprised.
Mhm.
And in some way, I just hope that their souls can now rest now that we've found them. But I hope we find the rest of the children, because we know that there's so many that have been lost, so many children that did not come home. And so that's my hope, that we can help to, in any way I can, help these children come to rest. My journey around this started the TRC actually in around 2012, 2013, where I witnessed the incredible strength of those giving testimony. I'd never seen that strength. And I witnessed institutionalized empathy, this structure to try and create healing. And I know it worked some ways better than others, and it's a constant journey of reflection and reinvention. But I was moved by it. And I was able, it gave me the opportunity to actually internalize in my body and in my spirit, not just in my mind, what had happened. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be invited into that. We don't realize that it's an honor to be invited into that kind of vulnerability, that's a gift. And I hope that having embodied that, I want you to know you cannot forget. I hope I can help to carry the weight of that. As a settler, it's very easy to slip into shame. Shame for what our people have done, shame for what's happened. And shame is, it's something that makes you feel badly about yourself. It's it's an internal. And I would say we do not have time for shame. This is not about us. We have time for regret. Regret means that you acknowledge and you change something moving forward. Regret means that we change what we're doing. And we have to do that because it's not just these children. Mm-hmm. For me, these children are calling on us to protect the children today that are being taken from their homes. Protect the children today who are suffering atrocities of racism. I think of Joyce Echoan recently, hearing her story. I think of the so many children who are in care. And I get angry. If a child is being taken from their home because there are not enough bedrooms, from their family, from their mothers. Give them more bedrooms. There's not proper housing. Give them housing. Do not take away children if you do not have to. If you need mental health supports, give mental health supports. Anyways, I can go on, and that's not for today, but that's for tomorrow, for us to stand up as settlers and to start demanding, all of us to start demanding these changes. In the justice system, in the education system, in the healthcare system, in these systems that we are all a part of that continue to create harm. It's not personal. Personally, we love each other. Personally, we're in relationship. And then we're in these systems. When I was moved by these people, by the witnesses, by witnessing the testimony and the stories and understanding, I was working in philanthropy at the time, and I was so scared that the calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission would be put in a drawer and forgotten. And what you're all saying today, I think you're right, that we've been given a gift, because they were starting to be not paid as much attention to. I wasn't hearing about them as much. You know, we had 5 years of focused effort, and then it was starting to wane, and I've been struggling. And so I thank these children for bringing this forward. And I remember I wanted to create some testimony, to create something from the philanthropic community. And I went to Justice Sinclair and Marie Wilson, and I said, can we do this? And Justice Sinclair said, I don't want a declaration. I don't want testimony. I want action. You can do this if you commit to action. I want a declaration of action. And so we brought together Indigenous and non-Indigenous folks to co-create that. And it calls to learn and remember. And it calls to understand and acknowledge. And it calls to participate and act. In the Jewish tradition, we sit Shiva when someone passes, similar, and we sit Shiva for, traditionally it's 7 days. Sometimes it's 5 or 3 and when we get up, then it's time to act. And so when this time is done, this grief time is done, I will stand with whoever I can to act, to change these systems, to be a part of it. And I just want to say that for some of this is really, for me, it's so seated in gratitude. It's seated in gratitude for your ancestors who cared for this land so we can be here, and the rivers and the animals and the trees. And it's seated in gratitude for being welcomed in today. And really gratitude for the love that people have shown me, Karen, Father Joe, and all of those who didn't have to. There is no reason to be nice to us, right? But you are, and you were, and so I want to thank you. Thank you for letting me be here today. And Miigwech.
Miigwech. Thank you, Andrea. Whew. Thank you for remembering. Thank you for remembering those calls to action. This is one of the missing children, are one of the areas that nothing has been done on. And like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, that was not funded by the Canadian government or the people who perpetrated the harms. It was funded by the survivors They took 1/3 of their settlement from the largest class action lawsuit in the history of this country and paid for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission so that we would remember. And so you do them justice when you remember and when you participate and you commit to action. And I appreciate your comment on the shame, because we've got too much work as Indigenous people to carry that with you or to guide you through that. We need help with the change, and we need to commit to the change, and knowing that right now, philanthropy, it's the only way most of us are getting through these organizations. Because like you said, the government made many promises, and we're not seeing that in any of our organizations. And so we're doing this in very unique ways, and most of us are only doing it, what do we say? We're providing caviar on a bologna budget, right? And we feel like beggars trying to heal something that we didn't create. And so I really appreciate the role of philanthropy in this, the call out to philanthropy. And philanthropy can mean $5 or $10, just like when we host our gatherings and we put a call out, people will donate and contribute and help in that work. And we get stuff done that way. And so I really appreciate all that you've shared with us today. It was really important. It's really important for everybody to hear what you said and for remembering so well. With that, you see her now, Vanessa Richards. She is a woman whose strength and determination and integrity and voice and command is present even when you just watch from afar. And I've always admired you for that. And I know that our Indigenous women have that in our spaces, but we struggle to show that outside of those spaces. Mm. And so you, for me, are a beacon to how to do that, to how to be true, to how to speak your truth, to how to stand your truth, and to be unapologetic about the message that you bring forth. And yet to be loving and kind and giving and generous and funny and all of those other things, wicked smart. So I'm really grateful for you being here today, Vanessa. And I open this floor to you.
It's a privilege and an honor to share a little bit of my teachings with you today. My name is Vanessa Richards, and I carry songs. I'm the daughter of Adelheid Patsack, who came to Canada in the arms of her mother, Irma Noy, when the Second War was starting. And Irma's mother, Anna Kraus, had married a Jewish man, and so they were fleeing. And Anna is the daughter of Katarina Brook. And I was just reviewing my family tree last night, and so when I had the invitation, it was such a pleasure to be able to call their names and to have learned from the best the value of saying the names of the women. And on my father's side, my father came to Vancouver seeking an education from Trinidad and Tobago, and he was raised by his mother, Stella Richards, and his grandmother, Petronella, and his great-grandmother, Julia Janvier, Ma Janvier. And they raised my father in a traditional syncretic, start the timer, Vanessa, in the traditional syncretic faith of Trinidad and Tobago, which looked at, took in particular in this place, the Yoruba people, their culture and their faith and the music. And so my father carried songs as well and came as a dancer and a student here. And I today want to share with you a song from Trinidad and Tobago using our traditional music form, but it's contemporary. It's a contemporary song by some of my friends who have a group called Tk'emlups. And their music is called rapso. It's a combination of rap music and calypso, but it's in this old time rhythm. And it's a song called Children Walk in the Power. And I want to tell you that when I was growing up in North Vancouver, I used to stare out my window on 17th Avenue and look up at the sisters. At the time, I knew them as the Lions, and I could never figure it, like, why were they called that? It was clearly a tiger, like the two sisters I thought were the ears of the tiger, and the whole mountain range was the back. And I just sit out my window and stare and wonder how on earth that could be so, that was the Lions. And so when I found out this story, when I was told the story of the sisters, I felt kind of redeemed. Like, yeah, that was right. I was right. They're not that. And I also remember going with my friend Phyllis, who was from the Squamish Nation, and she would take me down to the harbor there, and we would fish. She would fish. I was too chicken. But Phyllis, if you happen to be in the room, I would love to say hello again. I really appreciated our friendship. And I'm sitting here with a picture of Muhammad Ali, and my friend recently gave me a picture of Muhammad Ali and a pack of matches, and I've been using it to light my candles. And I'm reminded when Muhammad Ali came to North Vancouver, maybe some of you also remember that. And when he was practicing his boxing, he did a fight with George Chavalis, I think maybe. But what I learned from Muhammad Ali is, remember Rumble in the Jungle, and it's tookity, 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 tookity. It was in the corner, and it looked like, oh my God, he's going down. And then he had it. I don't know. He says it was his strategy, but he was like he exhausted his enemy, right? And then boom, and he just worked it out. Down and won that. And even when I saw him, I left Canada, and I was in London at the time, and I saw him with all of his frail body now sitting on the back of the car, remember? And then I think it was the early 2000s, and he wasn't as physically strong, but the might of Muhammad Ali, and I had this pleasure to just see him in the crowd. And I take a lot of medicine from Muhammad Ali. And I want to share with you some of the medicine that they have with the boxing too. So this is a cat called Resma Menakem. I've been reading his book, and it's called My Grandmother's Hands. And a lot of people have taken some good teachings in this. It's racialized trauma and the pathway to mending our hearts and our bodies. And so I just want to invite you, if it's comfortable for you, just to put your hands on your body. And this is I'm a learner in this, so I'm sharing my learning. And I hope it will help you. But just to really always invite you, when you feel the need to sway. And especially when you start to feel like you're coming small, just feel the sway. And when we sing this song, I'm going to invite you to stamp your feet. That's like taking the energy up from the earth, letting the earth come up and meet your foot, and feeling the vitality come into you. And if you're comfortable, I'm going to invite you just to look over your left shoulder. And look over your right shoulder. Turn your head so you can see behind you as far as you can on both sides. Maybe look up at the sky or the ceiling and know that the sky is beyond the ceiling. Down at your feet, know that the earth is holding you up, and we know the earth is our mother because she never lets us go. And there's this added thing, and I invite you to hold it in a way that feels comfortable. And this works really especially for African bodies, looking for the doorways. And then I send this also for the children and survivors of residential school and all of us. None of us want to be trapped. Look for the windows. Look for the doorways. Recognize you have a way out. Recognize that right now your body knows a way out of this room. And what this starts to do is relax our nervous system, our vagus nerve that comes down from the reptile brain all the way down into our guts. It's the nerve that helps us understand the feeling in our tummy when it says, this is good, this is wonderful, this is troubling, you better get out the room, you better stay in this room, right? So we're tending to that when we rock and sway and look for the doorways. I'd like to share with you now. And again, you can just keep it moving in your body as much as you feel comfortable. Rub it, smooth it. Like Yvonne Rigsby-Jones, I know was with you yesterday, and she taught me about EPIT, this brushing off. So anything that you feel instinctually to do and touch yourself and be in your body, allow that to come. This is from my brothers, Wendell, Stanton, and Roger of the group 3 Canal from Trinidad and Tobago, Port of Spain, in the house. So I'll sing it a few times, and if it's comfortable for you, I invite you to sing it with me and in your room. And if you're a person whose voice you've been told shouldn't be singing, I invite you to kick that lie to the curb as well. And you want to just practice that, boom, and because it's not true, because the medicine, the song wants to be with you, right? And if that's really, really hard for you still, you can even just hum it, because the humming again soothes, soothes, soothes. This is what we want. This is a resource, right? Okay, so your wings are back. If you're wearing Levi's, it might be tucked into the pocket, tips in the pocket. Your heart is forward. Your heart is forward, catching all of the love coming at you. Oh, I want to show you. And in Trinidad, we call this thing, it's called chipping. And you're just going like this. See how I'm not hitting with my toe, I'm hitting with my foot. Children walk. So that's what we're going to do. You can do that, whatever. And I hope my neighbors won't mind. I'm sure they won't. But this is good for the body and the nervous system. Children walk in the power. Children walk in the power. Walk in the power, children. Walk in the power, children. Walk in the power, walk in the power, walk in the power, children. Children walk in the power. Huh. Children walk in the power. Walk in the power, children. Walk in the power, children. Walk in the power, walk in the power, walk in the power, children. Now like a prayer, one of the quiet prayers. Children walk in the power. Children walk in the power. Walk in the power, children. Walk in the power, children. Walk in the power, walk in the power, walk in the power, children. Humming with me. One time to close and to hold all those babies, these ones that we've recognized and the ones that we know are coming and the ones that are living inside of us still right now. For yourself.
Yes, as my sister said, if I had ever heard that as a child, what a difference. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. And we have never had the opportunity to work yet. We've wanted to. And I've always known we need to. And I'm so grateful for you today. I'm so grateful. You have no idea. The one thing for me personally that I have never been good at is joy. Girl, Shelley, everybody knows this. I'm always responsible. And so when I see you, you bring me joy, but fun joy, not hurtful joy.
Yeah, joy is a responsibility too. And that's what the music and the drum teaches us. And I got to tell you, when I was coming after some 12 years away out of Canada, and I was like, oh man, how am I going to work this out? And after having so much experience with really much more, like a lot of African diaspora cultures, Caribbean cultures, African cultures, and I was like, when I recognized and remembered, oh, I'm coming back to a place that is soaked in drums and song and dance and humor. These are also my people, and this is the land that helped me know who I am in the world. And so it's with great anticipation, Karen, and everybody. I look forward to continually braiding the lives of Indigenous people and African diaspora folks. We've got history and we've got future.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Dela Kesla, thank you again for joining us. And welcome to our family. Welcome. Uh-oh, Tara Lynn. My other sister. Oh no. You know, when we look at the wisdom and the strength of all of the women that are here on this panel, it's just amazing, you know. And none of us practiced any of this, just so you know. This is all a part of trusting the process. This is all a part of knowing who needs to be here and trusting the process. And I thought we were going to be sharing something totally different. And this is so much better than anything I could have ever imagined. And I'm so grateful to all of you that you also know yourselves enough to trust what you're bringing here, you know. And Tara Lynn is a dear friend who I've probably only met 2 or 3 times in person. I think only twice, actually. And so it's possible to have those friends, even though you have minute times together. And it's amazing how connected we are in so many different ways. And she carries the wisdom for sure of these children. I haven't said anything about what any of the people here do, but I will say this is not what she does today, although we always do this work. But Tara Lynn was part of the mental health support for the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls inquiry. And that's how I first met her. And she is doing amazing things and has tremendous medicine and knowledge to bring to this. And I'm so grateful that you and I, in the midst of all of this grief and feeling overwhelmed, that you were able to help me dig myself out through laughter. I'm not even going to say what we said. Anyway, it's when the aunties get together, if you know what I'm talking about. So Cheryl's laughing too. She goes, yep, in there. Okay, Miss Tara Lynn, please join us.
Oh, Walala and Karen and Walaliok, to everyone for joining us in this invitation. And I'll say, Kwe Wilagiskuk in Sitnokama, Ninda Louise Milladaj, Ninda Louise Tara Lynn Fern. Greetings to you, all of my relatives, every single one of you. That's beautiful face or name is appearing in this square across our beautiful Earth Mother, wherever you're joining us from. My English name is Tara Lynn Fern, and my Mi'kmaq name is Milladodge Hummingbird. I'm Ilnu. I'm a member of the Wabanaki Confederacy, Snake Clan. My peoples, the traditional lands of our peoples is the east coast of Canada and northeastern United States, but I'm joining you today where my 2 feet are planted on these, where I live in relation with the beautiful lands that have been stewarded by the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples under the Dish with One Spoon Wampum, just north of Toronto in Ontario. And when I say I live in relationship with the land, it's not just words. I have a responsibility to harvest her, to speak for her, to raise my son in a good way. My son is almost 19. And my Mi'kmaq name is Hummingbird. And so I want to just acknowledge, Shelley, the beautiful song in calling in the Thunder Beings as our helpers and my relatives. The Thunder Beings, and for Chief Bobby Joe, your beautiful words to ground us in a good way as we sit in relationship together and have been sitting and sharing so beautifully with each other. And it's important that I acknowledge the helpers, because I am just a 2-legged being that needs many, many helpers. I have many helpers here in my bundle that help me to do this work in a good way and remind me of how to do this in a good way. Times when I'm nervous, times when I'm sad, times when I don't think, I get in the way of myself and I don't think that I can contribute to anything. I call on my helpers. I'm a drum carrier. I love the beautiful singers that you've convened. I know you didn't do that intentionally, but the beautiful song is such good medicine. Thank you, Vanessa, as well, and for everyone for sharing. I'm a drum carrier as well. And, I will share, last night I received a phone call from Karen, and we're in a different time zone, and it was a little later, and I thought, who's calling me? But at the time, I was listening to a song that came to me about an hour before she called. And this song came to me, and I had thought, this is a beautiful song, and I recorded it. And as I was listening to it, it said, Karen Joseph's calling. And I answered the phone and said, because I know when there's a call that, there's something required. So Karen asked me if I would be willing to join today. And so in our communities, when our sisters call, our fellow aunties call, we say, okay. And then we go, what the heck am I going to say? Or what could I even offer? And so I offered, in part of my practice and teachings, I think about what it is I'm meant to bring about in the work that I do, or the words that I share, or the songs that I bring. And I offered tobacco to the little ones and their souls and said, what might I bring or speak to today? What is it that you would like us to hear? And Chief Bobby Joe, you spoke about that so eloquently in your opening when we're wondering about making meaning of this moment. What does that mean? And you said the children, they are making a big contribution, bringing this back into our consciousness. And one of the things that came this morning during ceremony, my Auntie Diane Longboat, who's Turtle Clan and a member of the Mohawk Nation and Six Nations, she has the soul of our mother and has a sacred fire that's been burning since the 90s for the well-being of our people. And I spoke with Auntie Diane this morning, and I told her that I was being invited to come. And she said, this is a time of prophecy. It's written in our prophecies that Mother Earth will release the truth about who we are as nations of people. And last night I had a dream and a vision, and I envisioned those beautiful souls being wrapped in Mother Earth, and Mother Earth protecting and caring for them until a time when they felt it was time to come and to speak and to share messages with us to hear. And so I'm reminded of that by my Auntie Diane this morning, and also by you, Chief Bobby Joe, in your words again. So what is it? How do we want to honor them? What is it that they're trying to say? What is it? What are the messages that we have to hear? as a human family, we've lost sight of the truth of our own personhood and sort of the evils of how we interact with one another. And we've lost sight of the truth of our humanity and how we are in relation with all of our relations in creation, our Mother Earth, the trees, the waters, the mountains, the four-legged beings, the winged, the crawlers, the swimmers, all of our relatives. And so in thinking about these beautiful souls coming to us and reminding us that we have to reconnect and reunite with humanity as the human family from all across these nations in doing this work, and that we have a responsibility to heal our spiritual and emotional selves, that inner work that is part of our heart work, which is the work of women, and the inner work, the sacred feminine, which we all encapsulate masculine and feminine energy, regardless of where we beautifully stand proud on the spectrum of gender. And so our inner heart work, we have responsibility through their messages to do that work internally, and also responsibility to heal Mother Earth. And so those were some of the things that I was thinking about as I was wondering what messages might I carry today. And so when you offered that song, Shelley, I do a lot of planting and harvesting. And so I have tobacco seeds. These are traditional tobacco seeds from Haudenosaunee territory. And normally I would harvest and plant my tobacco seeds probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but for some reason there's things that happened that I was unable to harvest. And so here I am with these seeds. So I've been putting these seeds and asking them to sit and listen to our conversation and our dialogue today, because I'm going to plant these seeds and replanting these seeds. And when Karen mentioned, when I was the Director of Outreach and Support Services for the National Inquiry for 2.5 years, I had a lot of healing to do after that, going through that process. And I was the bundle carrier for that process. And so one of my knowledge keepers had said to me last year, when you plant your tobacco, she said last year, put that healing into that tobacco and into those seeds, and put those seeds on the tip of your tongue so that your DNA is connected, and your DNA from your ancestors and all the ancestral lineage is connected, and plant those seeds and nurture and harvest those seeds, and that tobacco will take on your healing for you. And I planted those tobacco last year, a little bit, about a year ago. And the funniest thing happened. Normally when I plant my tobacco seeds, I use like old school, like res style, like egg cartons. And so I start collecting them January, February, March, April. And so, you know, egg cartons, they have like 12 spots for your eggs. And I usually put 3 seeds in each of those little cartons where 1 egg would fit. And I planted my tobacco with this intention, and I watered it and nurtured it and sang to the seeds. And the tobacco started to grow, and these little seed buds started to grow. And they quadruplified, even more than quadruplified. I don't even know the number of it, but 3 seeds didn't sprout from each cup. There was like 10, 20, 30 from each little cup. And I thought, what is happening? How is this happening? And so much tobacco harvested that I live in a little small community north of Toronto. So imagine the postage stamp of land that I have. And I thought, I can't harvest all of this tobacco. I don't have the space. So I started reaching out to elders and knowledge keepers and saying, I have so many tobacco plants. Would you like some? And they said, oh, I would love some. I'd love maybe 1 or 2. Maybe I could get 5. And I said, well, how about 30 or 40? Like, would that do? And they said yes. And my son smoked fish, smoked salmon, and I put all these little seeds together in these little bins, and we started to deliver these tobacco plants to elders and knowledge keepers. And I saved some and I harvested some, but my tobacco plants that grew last year, they didn't grow really big or really large leaves to cultivate for a traditional tobacco. But what they did offer was more seeds that I could even imagine. I couldn't imagine the number of seeds. And so I harvested all of these seeds, and I've been gifting these seeds and trying to remember and understand what is the intention of passing on these seeds. And I think there's so many seeds because it's time for us to replant, and it's time for us to reseed what it is, this new way forward and where we need to go. So I've asked these tobacco seeds to listen to our conversations and to listen to our songs and our prayers and the words that those that are watching have been sharing in the chat box as well. And I will plant these seeds, and I will plant these seeds in remembrance and in honor of the little ones, that the children that are reminding us about our responsibility of how to move forward in a good way. And I would like you, I'm going to offer the song that came yesterday. And when I first, about 1.5 years ago, was invited by Karen and Shelley and Chief Bobby Joe to sit with their team out west, I brought a drum, a brand new drum that I had created. And I was making that drum, and Chief Bobby Joe shared some teachings about that drum, and that drum was a healing drum. And he shared it's time that drum is so important to teach us about turning ourselves inside out, because I put the hide inside out on the drum because I wanted to see the beautiful marbling of the Milky Way, which is the ancestors' road, which is in my teachings, day 4. And you spoke about it, Karen, when those little ones are dancing in the sky on the ancestors' road with their beautiful long braided hair and the regalia, dancing back with their original instructions to be with our ancestors. And that is today. So I'm reminded about that healing drum, Chief Bobby Joe, and I'm so grateful. And you gifted me the privilege to sing that song, Kainai. And Shelley, that was the song that you spoke this morning. And that's the first song that drum ever received. And I'm just so grateful. So I just wrote this song last night. So I'm going to offer it to you, back to you, in reciprocal sharing, out of my respect and love for the songs that have gifted me. You've gifted me and nurtured my well-being, and that I carry in my bundle. So I'm gonna sing that today. And you know, sometimes when songs come to us, I wonder, is this meant for a drum? Because I carry a drum. Is this meant for a drum? And this morning I was sitting with it and I thought it's meant for a rattle. And the inside of our rattle, we have many teachings, but those are seeds. Those are the seeds of creation. And so this morning I thought that this song is meant to have a rattle. And I'm not sure about the title of this song, but Shelley and Karen and Chief Bobby Joe, we can chat about it later and what the little ones tell us. But this song I'd like to gift and sing to you and to everyone. Way na na hey yo, way na hey, 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 oh way na hey, oh way na hey, oh way na hey, oh way na hey, way na na hey, oh way na hey. Ooh, oh. Walaliok for the invitation, and Walaliok for everyone that is watching. I wish I could see your beautiful faces, but the courage to just participate and be present with us today. And Walaliok to y'all, and Sitnokama, all my relatives, and sending much love to each of you.
Now and Terilyn. All the connections just keep circling and circling and circling. I don't know if I told you before, my son is Haudenosaunee too. He comes from Ganawage. And so these connections just keep hitting me right here. I am going to play this for him and talk about our connections and, you know, just moving forward with all of our children too. So thank you so much. What a beautiful gift you are. Kela Kesa.
so good to connect with you again. So good. You just, I hope, and I know it's true. I'm so glad that you're here to share with us your love, your spirit, your knowledge. And I'm also so glad that you're here to receive as well, because you give so much from all of the other women here and the people that are online, and to refill your cup, to refill your medicine bag, because we're here to support you too. So thank you, Taralyn, for being here and for trusting us to share in such a sacred gift. Thank you. We have one more soul who's going to share with us today some of her wisdom and her experience and her stories. And again, another one of those powerful women, in a good way, that's what I mean, who knows how to get things done to a level of levels. And I'm so grateful that you're here, Queenie. And I love your name. And I just really want to welcome you into this circle. This is a circle, even though there's a bunch of squares here. You know, I always say that we can make a circle in any square. So, so thank you, and I invite you to join us and to share today.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank Reconciliation Canada for organizing today's event, and Chief Dr. Robert Joseph for inviting me to speak. And thank you, Karen. Nice to see you again. And certainly we're here together. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the ancestral and traditional territories of the Indigenous peoples. I express my gratitude and honor the Indigenous peoples who are the keepers of these lands that have existed since time immemorial. Success headquarters are on the Coast Salish lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. Hearing the news about the discovery of the burial site at the former Kamloops residential school was both horrifying and heartbreaking. I share my condolences with Indigenous families and communities across Canada as they continue to deal with the ongoing trauma and grief. As a mother, as a grandmother, I share my deep sorrow with you that no words can describe the pain for losing a child or a grandchildren or grandchild of somebody who you know. As an immigrant serving organization, Success, we understand that there continues to be a lack of understanding among many newcomers about the history and the lived experience of Indigenous peoples in Canada. This must change. Instead of continuing this false narrative of a multicultural and inclusive Canada that ignores the historical and present injustice and violence inflicted on Indigenous peoples, particularly women and girls. We must instead recognize and acknowledge our communities' shared histories of injustice and discrimination that continues today. It is our responsibility to recognize and uphold the rights and dignity of Indigenous people. Without this, nothing will change, and this systemic oppression will continue to harm Indigenous communities into the future. Then there can be no reconciliation without facing and acknowledging this truth. We support the call for fully implement the 94 calls to action outlined in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's report, as well as the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. We ask that all stakeholders take immediate and urgent action to make this a reality. In our capacity as an immigrant serving organization, a success, we call on all newcomers to learn about the truth of settler colonialism, including the devastating impacts of residential schools and forced separation of families that continue to this very day. We also call on all newcomers to embrace their role in reconciliation. It is our collective responsibility to actively demand for transformative changes by all levels of governments and sectors. We, as settlers, cannot be silent. We need to demand for immediate changes. These are not problems of the Indigenous community to face alone. We are all on this land. So it is all our responsibility to work towards reconciliation. It is through all our individual actions that we can create the changes needed. As success, we have started some of this work to help newcomers foster a deeper understanding of the past and present injustice and atrocities that continue to have far-reaching and deep impacts. But we know this is not enough and more needs to be done. We are in solidarity to ensure the calls for change by Indigenous communities are heard and enacted, and that the Canadian provincial and municipal governments invest in the health, social, and economic well-being of all Indigenous peoples. Thank you for your kind invitation.
Thank you, Queenie. And that is why she gets things done. You are amazing. Thank you for sharing your words, your strong words, not just of support, but of action, and calling on all of us as human beings to become involved in this, and really calling for those investments. You know, part of what we've been doing, even at Reconciliation Canada, is predominantly through the philanthropic community and through individual donations that we're able to get our work done, because we don't fit in any of the boxes of government support or government strategies or anything like that. They don't exist yet. And so it speaks to the idea that to call on everybody to help contribute to this, because we know what needs to be done and it doesn't fit in a box.
Right.
And so if we have the resources and the partners and the wisdom of all the people here at in this circle, it will not take long. Every system, every institution the rules and the regulations are created by and upheld by individuals. And so even those individuals within those systems want to do something different. And we need to support one another in creating that change, in allowing all of us to show up in our best selves to support our collective humanity. Because none of us are unique in the traumas that we've experienced. Every one of us comes to a point in our lifetime where we have to face the truth of our histories, the truth of our presence, and really make changes for another future that's going to benefit ourselves, our health, our well-being, our leadership, and our future, and most especially our children.
Thank you.
My father always says, we are nothing. I am nothing without you. So, Gela Kasla, thank you, Quinny, for being
Thank
here,
you.
sharing your powerful words and your powerful calls to action. It means a tremendous amount to us. So, Gela Kasla, thank you.
Thank you so much.
With that, dear Father, Chief Joseph, I'd like you to share some closing words with us, and then I'll ask Shelley to officially close the circle with a song. And I want to thank everybody here for staying with us during this time, for joining us. Our reach continues to grow. Please download as many times as you need to all of the sessions that we've recorded. Share them with your friend. That can be your first act of reconciliation when you leave here, is share the message. Because we're all going to need our collective power, our collective voices, and our collective wisdom if we're going to create change in this country. So Chief Joseph, if you're out there, press the unmute and join us. There you are. Gotcha.
Greetings again, all my relatives, all of us on the screen, those in other places tuning in. I am so moved by all that I've heard today. And I'm reminded that people can be generous and loving, supportive and engaged. And it inspires me to do what I can to encourage others, because it is through you that change really takes place. When you talk to your families, your children, your moms and dads, and you talk in your town halls or around the kitchen tables where you live, or where you work and play, it is you that will bring about the change that is so desperately needed, not only for Canada, but all of humanity. And I heard today every panelist, and I was so moved. I actually thought about my grandmother and what Karen said just a moment ago. My grandmother always said many times, I am nothing without you, my precious one. She said that so often, and I felt so good, and I felt so loved, and I knew that I was connected and belonging and belonged to something bigger than a little boy. No fear, feeling loved, even inspired. Even little ones are inspired, can be inspired. So moving forward, I want us to remember the words we heard this morning, so wise, so straightforward, succinctful. I know that many of us think that reconciliation is complicated, and it is. But if we break it down, it can be as simple as we want. You being involved, you taking action, making the decisions about how you're going to contribute and making this world a better place, and responding to the indignity of the situation in our Indigenous lives. So I'm really hopeful, inspired. I believe that we're going to continue to move forward, asking those important questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And all of the responses you hear will be the ones you need to hear, and will be the ones in which you have to respond to in your own ways, aside from all of the formal political, economic, and other dimensions of reconciliation. It will be you engaging with Canadians heart by heart, soul by soul, spirit by spirit, standing up for our common humanity. And that's what we've been talking about. And those little kids, that's what they're calling for too. So I thank all of you, all the panelists today, the former days, and all of you who tuned into these circles that we've had. I'm just going to say a brief prayer and kwakwala, and ask you in your own prayerful ways to think about what it is that is important for us to remember in our prayers. Carmina Purim Gali Los Horta Nalach Yuthi Quilin Kuno. Dak Halachus Igalat Seachus. But much of Sida Sakwe Gachano Kano Hiusle Alechida Ikamasta Hida Histalis Hida Naqua Bagwanama. Kasok Mazana Kulesni no Kayas Kastel Kulape. Maya Kilape. He Guaslus no Kayus, Mr. No Kungidas, with Latsa. Katmasis no Galal, Waltem Lach Lacha. I had all my relations. Thank you.
Yeah. Shelley.
Thanks, Dad, for always reminding us to be in that spirit place, in that heart place. My dad has forever asked me to sing the love song wherever I go, because it's the foundation of the work that we're going to do now collectively across this country, is to love harder, to love boldly, to love intentionally, everywhere you go, with everyone you meet. Love boldly. And so I'm going to end the day with the love song. And it says, "So great is my love for you, my precious one, that I cry." Lambs Kwosaya Lambs Kwosaya Lambs ha, ye I ha, oh, ye I, ye I, ha. I love you.
Love you too. We love you too. Thank you so much, Shelley. That is absolutely, without question, my favorite song in the whole world. So I agree with that. And how appropriate when we're talking about our children, when we're talking about these children. Thank you to everybody who has joined us. Remember, you have been called. Now it's time to go home. Prepare yourself for the journey ahead. Tell your families, tell your friends, the time is now. Together, we will make a difference fueled by love, guided by wisdom, and committed to action. Together, we will create a new future that honors these children, honors our children, and allows all of us to walk together in dignity and hope. I love you. We will be doing this again, finding ways that we can work together. For now, we will go home and rest and prepare. Thank you.